Everyone, this is Nikachu, Merfolk Master, and I'm here to show you a replay of my match in round 6. I accidentally did not record it, but that's okay, we can see the replay. See how Merfolk did in round 6. If you love Merfolk, you love my run so far in this tournament, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe to this channel. Before we get into our match, we're going to thank our sponsor, themanabase.com. And go check out Nikachu on themanabase.com, I'm over there. And don't forget to be eligible for this Curse Catcher giveaway. Curse Catcher serving a fish. For instructions to that, go check out the description below. So yeah, I didn't record it, but that's okay. We can still enjoy this match. I lost the die roll. I have this hand. It doesn't have a second blue mana source, and if I don't draw it, then I'm stone dead out of the game. And I mean, it's also still pretty clunky. I mean, even if I draw the land, I'm doing nothing on turn 1, and then I'm just playing like Lord, Lord, Lord. I just depend on like ripping an island the next 2 turns, and then I am dependent on drawing at least one more land to get Master of Waves going. So anyway, I thought the hand is too risky, and I mulligan this hand. Now this hand sucks, but it's keepable. Peak can replace itself. And we do have an Ether Vial, so we can slowly catch up to our opponent. It's very important to note that I don't have a Merfolk in my hand for Wanderwine Hub. Hopefully that's not going to bite me. At the very least, I can play Mutavault and play Ether Vial, so I have some ability of getting this thing online. But it doesn't look like I can get Spell Piercer Peak online, because this thing's going to come into play tapped. But doing what, we find a Lord of Atlantis on the top of our library. That's what with our Scry, so not too bad. Not too bad. So our opponent's playing Concealed Courtyard. Makes me believe that they're playing Eldrazi Taxes. That's the natural thing that I'm just going to assume. They play Inquisition, and they have an interesting... My hand's like really, really poor. They do have some choice of like taking Ether Vial, because my hand doesn't really do any... I mean, like, Ether Vial is not very good, but... if there was some chance of getting back into the game, I thought it might be with the Ether Vial. But you know what, that's wrong. Like, Phantasmal Image is also the only threat in the hand, so that's clearly the best thing to take. That's exactly what they do take. So I do have Lord of Atlantis. I play Mutavault into Ether Vial. I actually don't think that that's the correct thing to do. I probably should have played Wanderwine Hub, because now if my opponent plays Inquisition again and takes Lord of Atlantis, then I can't get Wanderwine Hub online. So I actually think I prefer to play Wanderwine, because if I'm not, I don't think I'm attacking with Mutavault ever next turn, because I want to be able to play Peak or hold up Spell Pierce. Although I don't think Spell Pierce is going to be live here, because I'm assuming I'm up against Eldrazi Taxes, but at the very least, I could play Peak. So, draw Master of Waves, play it. I believe I showed Lord of Atlantis, and I don't attack. There's no reason to. My opponent, in theory, could block, but I might face a Fatal Push or a Path to Exile. I guess Path to Exile is just the most likely card out of Eldrazi Taxes. I couldn't remember if they play Mutavault. I don't think they do. Like, I got a little confused when I saw this Mutavault. Like, are we up against Eldrazi Taxes? I mean, I guess so. I guess that's a card that they could play. I know they play the white-black land, so they play Eldrazi Temple, so far nothing really surprising me. Here comes Thought-Knot Seer. And what I should have let my opponent do, I should have let Thought-Knot Seer resolve. I make a mistake and I play Peak. And the thing is, if I let Thought-Knot Seer resolve and they just take something from my hand, like Master of Waves is pretty good, they're probably going to take it. But let's say I draw something really good off of Peak that might make my opponent change their mind. For example, like Phantasmal Image, that can copy Thought-Knot Seer. Now that could change how my opponent plays with their Thought-Knot Seer, and also it gives them an extra card, it gives them one more card that they know about in my hand. So I think I should have just not played Peak at all. It's interesting to see how many like mistakes I personally make in a game of Magic if I can at least just review my games. So they now have perfect information. If they didn't know about this Phantasmal Image, I might be able to exploit that in some way. My opponent has Path to Exile, Caves of Koilos, Reality Smasher, and Wasteland Strangler. It's looking pretty bad for me, and probably I didn't feel like I was in any position of winning this game. But you know what? Maybe with a little luck, could pull something out. So drawing an island does not help me at all. So we're just going to play it and pass. It's very hard to get any value out of this Spell Pierce, especially since now my opponent knows it. That's the problem against like Inquisition of Kozilek decks. Once they see Spell Pierce, they can play around it perfectly. And they saw it again with Thought-Knot Seer. Alright, so they have a lot of mana. I think they were considering playing Reality Smasher, but then that's the thing. They saw the Phantasmal Image. So I actually lost. That was I didn't know. Now that I look back on it, wow, that was a really big blunder. Because if they play Reality Smasher, cast it, and attack me with both Thought-Knot Seer and Reality Smasher, I could vial in Phantasmal Image, copy the Reality Smasher, and then block the Thought-Knot Seer. So that was pretty big blunder on my part to be playing Peak prematurely like that. You know, for some reason I was scared the Thought-Knot Seer might take it. I mean, I'm in theory maybe it was possible because they had like Path to Exile and Wasteland Strangler for the Master of Waves and Lord of Atlantis. So anyway, now I can't play Phantasmal Image because they'll just Path to Exile and I won't get anything. I won't get any value. So I'm not sure what to do. Maybe pass back and forth because I'm sort of hampering my opponent. I'm sort of preventing my opponent from doing anything. But I decided to throw out a Master of Waves here. Wasn't sure what to do. Maybe I should just pass back and forth. Because the thing is, if they draw one more land, now they can play Reality Smasher and the Path to Exile at the same time. So my plan of vialing in Phantasmal Image and copying the Smasher in order to block Thought-Knot Seer doesn't work anymore, because then they can just Path to Exile the Phantasmal Image. So, of course, they're going to play Wasteland Strangler, and there's, like, no good way for me able to deal with this situation. And I believe I vial in Phantasmal Image, copy Thought-Knot Seer, and at the very least... So they played They played Caves of Koilos, they played Wasteland Strangler. They're about to play... Oh, they played Fatal Push. Yeah, they didn't actually play their Path to Exile, which I thought was interesting. So they have a Path to Exile in hand that I accidentally clicked off. So I get to see their hand again, though. That's good. And I believe I took the Reality Smasher, because that was just the stronger threat. So I have nothing on the board, and they have a path in hand, so... I mean, I'm dead. I'm just basically dead. I'm just waiting to like lose. I peek. I see. I don't really get anything. I'm just stone dead here. They path one of my Mutavaults, and yeah, that's the end of. I believe that's the end of game one. Well, yeah, I play on for a little bit longer, but like doesn't matter. I can't tap out because I only make one wave, and they have 3 attackers, so I just make them attack me, and then I resign. Okay, so that was game 1. Now let's get into game 2. So I'm on the play, and the way I sideboarded, I brought in my 3 Tectonic Edges, and I took out the 3 Ether Vials. They are a 3-color deck. They are playing Manlands, so the Tectonic Edges can be useful. And my intention was, yeah, so I brought in 3 Tectonic Edges and took 3 Ether Vials out. Ether Vial, not as important on the play. And I just want to be like just slightly more threat dense, and so like Tectonic Edge can still help me curve out, especially like Tectonic Edge can help me hit turn 4 Master of Waves better than Ether Vial can. Ether Vial can only get me a turn 5 Master of Waves because you have to wait a turn just to start taking it up. So yeah, so that's all I did. And I would bring in the Ether Vials back in on the draw when I think they'll be a little bit more appropriate, and I could take out a land. I don't know how many lands I would take out. Maybe I would take out all the Tectonic Edges, but, you know, whatever. So I'm actually less... I should also say that I'm not exactly sure what... I thought I was up against Eldrazi Taxes, but I don't think this is Eldrazi Taxes anymore. So, like, the weird cards that I saw were Relic of Progenitus. The weird cards that I saw were main deck Fatal Push. I don't see these cards very often, so I'm like really unsure if this is actually Eldrazi Taxes. There's no taxing effects. There's no Leon Arbiter. We saw Mutavault instead of Ghost Quarter. So now I'm much more leaning on the fact that this is a old version of Eldrazi Processor. But it's not Eldrazi Taxes. There are no taxing effects here. So I don't like this hand. I think it's very slow, but on the other hand, I don't want to mulligan against a deck like this. It's clearly attrition based deck. It's like Jund. If I were to really think hard, what this deck is like, it's a Jund deck. It's got like Inquisition, it's got removal, and it's got big creatures, big fat creatures that hope to close out the game. So I looked at it like Jund. I don't want to mulligan this hand against Jund. I'm just going to keep it. I want as many cards as possible. Inquisition blanks on this hand as well, so that might be a benefit if my opponent plays Inquisition of Kozilek. I start off with Mutavault because the odds of me drawing a double blue spell not very high, so I can get in 2 points of damage. And also, in the event that I do draw, like, say, Lord of Atlantis next turn, I don't need to cast it on turn 2. I can cast it on turn 3 before I play Master of Waves into, like, Venser. So that is the plan. My opponent plays Eldrazi Temple, which implies that they have Thought-Knot Seer in their hand, because either they have Eldrazi, they either have another Eldrazi Temple to play Thought-Knot Seer, or they at least have the Thought-Knot Seer and they hope to draw an Eldrazi Temple. So with that in mind, I drew Spreading Seas, and so I decide, well, I don't want to deal with a turn 2 Thought-Knot Seer, so let's Spreading Seas that. And I draw Lord of Atlantis, which is pretty good. We're using our mana very well. I mean, as well as we can. I just had a bunch of 4-drops in my hand at the beginning. And we draw a Wandering Hub. Play the Wandering Hub. And play my Lord of Atlantis. I don't know if there's a difference between Wandering Hub and Island in this matchup. So I'm pretty happy. Nothing's been exiled yet, so something like, for example, Eldrazi, Wasteland Strangler can't kill my Lord of Atlantis. And so now we see Lingering Souls. A bit awkward right now because I know I can't attack with my Lord of Atlantis. I want to play Master of Waves next turn. So anyway, they get a Souls. Didn't really see that coming. Didn't expect that to be in their deck. We draw a third Master of Waves. So basically, if they don't path to exile this Master of Waves, then they should be dead. And even if they have Fatal Push, it's not they can't do anything because they need to be able to get a permanent off the board. And these spirits, there's no chance that I can block the flying spirits. And it looks like Concealed Courtyard has entered the battlefield tapped. It's too bad for them. So they can't get that turn 4 Thought-Knot Seer like they want to. So they do have Fatal Push. But they don't have a way of getting Revolt. And so I don't have any problem slamming a second Master of Waves. If they have Path to Exile, I'm pretty sure they would have just played that. I'm pretty sure they would have just attacked with their tokens and then removed our Master of Waves, not let us have a chance of untapping. So now, basically the game is over. I mean, they literally need like double path or something like that. And they see the writing on the wall. They're completely crushed and toast. All right, so that's game 2. We ran them over, and let's go to game 3. So as you see with the sideboard, we brought in at least one Aether Vial, and I elected to take out a Cavern of Souls. I feel like Aether Vial is going to be a little bit more important on the draw. I want to take out more lands, but I wasn't sure if I wanted to really take out a Tectonic Edge for Aether Vial, because they have a lot of man lands, and they are a 3-color deck. So if we hit the colorless source or the black source or the white source, it could really hurt them. So I decided to just take out one Cavern of Souls. It's not really meaningful in this matchup, and bring in Aether Vial instead for the draw. The hand is bad. We can't cast anything at all. It's too bad. Too bad. So sad. This hand's fine. It's fine. It's got Mistcaller. I kept Mistcaller in the deck, by the way, because I'm just assuming that they have Eldrazi Displacer, and this is a good card against Eldrazi Displacer. Because if they try to displace one of their own creatures, you sacrifice Mistcaller, and then they lose the creature that they have. We see an island on top with our Scry. I kept it on top because there's no way we're going to be able to get our game plan going unless we have double blue. I only have a single blue source in my hand right now, so we do need an island. So play Mistcaller, pass. Fetid Heath, Bitter Blossom. Like, what is this, fairies now? I don't even know what's in this deck. So, yeah. Nothing I can do about that. So against Bitter Blossom, you basically just want to apply a really fast clock. I would say overall I'm pretty favorable against Bitter Blossom decks. Merfolk has enough damage that you can usually push through to put the Bitter Blossom player in range of dying to their own Bitter Blossom, because they keep taking life every single upkeep. So if you can put your opponent down to 5 or 4, that might be enough to just win the game by itself. So I draw a Spreading Seas, and this Fetid Heath looks really, really like an attractive target. It's possible that if the opponent doesn't have another black source in hand or another colorless source, like let's say they have another plains or something, then this was their only mana fixing, and if we Spreading Seas this, they're in a lot of trouble. Not to mention Spreading Seas might be important later on in the game. Because of Bitter Blossom, there's going to be blockers. There's going to be like 1/1 fairies to block every single turn, so the best way to get in damage is going to be with Island Walk. So I play my lands, I play Spreading Seas, and I draw another Spreading Seas, which means I am even more likely to mana screw my opponent. So they get a Fairy Rogue, they take some damage, they play a Swamp, which looks really appealing, but unfortunately they play an Inquisition of Kozilek and they take my Spreading Seas. That's too bad. And what I would have done on that turn is I would have played Peak to find out exactly which of these lands were soft to the Spreading Seas. Like if they have another Plains in hand, then I go for the Swamp. If they have another Swamp in hand, I go for the Plains. Now they play Ratchet Bomb, which is now super awkward because I just have a bunch of 2-drops in hand. And you know what? I would love to play this Phantasmal Image on like a Thought-Knot Seer or a Matter Reshaper or something. I don't even know if they have Matter Shaper in their deck, but just something that isn't a 1-drop, it isn't a 2-drop, because this thing's clearly going to 2. It's going to hit the Spreading Seas, and it's going to challenge all my creatures that are at 2 CMC. I get a Silvergill Adept, so I need to give my opponent some reason to blow up this Ratchet Bomb at some point, so this is the beginning of where I start putting pressure on the board. Get Silvergill Adept on the board. These Mutavaults are really nice. It's good to have. They can't get hit by Ratchet Bomb, and they're decent attackers as well. So I'm going to hold on to the Peak. I'm pretty sure I'm deciding to play this thing at the end of my opponent's turn. Don't want to make the same mistake as I did last time with that Thought-Knot Seer. So they attack for 1, now they hardcast Lingering Souls. Very important to note that on Mistcaller, it says if you sacrifice it, if a non-token creature would enter the battlefield and it wasn't cast, exile it instead. Yeah, these are tokens, so Mistcaller cannot affect tokens. It would be wonderful if it could, but no. It might actually backfire against us. We sacrifice Mistcaller, play Master of Waves. Oh, that wouldn't be good. That would be a feel-bad moment. So I play Peak at end of turn. We see Lingering Souls, Thought-Knot Seer, and Tidehallow Scholar. So good things about this, their hand is clunky. They can't play more than one thing a turn. They can't even play Thought-Knot Seer. On the other hand, they can play Lingering Soul. Lingering Souls is a danger, and at the moment, I'm totally losing on the board. There's so many good flyers. I have nothing close to an attack that's being masked up. But I do draw the Master of the Pearl Trident. That's nice. It's nice for 2 reasons. It will give my opponent to blow the Ratchet Bomb, and it's also a decent chunk of damage because I can attack for 8 this turn. So I play the Master of the Pearl Trident, activate Mutavault. We attack for 8, put the opponent down to 9. Because if we can get them low enough, then the Bitter Blossom is just going to kill them. Although at the time, I didn't think about the fact that Ratchet Bomb on 2 is going to blow up the Bitter Blossom. So that also means that the flow of flying creatures is also going to slow down. So they're at 8. And now, Bitter Blossom is going to blow up to the Ratchet Bomb. My opponent feels very confident. Comes in swinging. That's fine. So here comes another Lingering Souls. I'm dreading this huge chunk of damage in the air. But do you know what? These Mutavaults, don't underestimate them. There's something. So I draw another Mutavault. I want to make use of this Phantasmal Image and this Merfolk Trickster. Because the thing is, my opponent, as we saw, has Thought-Knot Seer and Tidehallow Scholar. That means one of these cards is going to get eaten up. But then I decided, you know what? I decide to Does this make sense? I believe I ended up just attacking with a Silvergill Adept. I think at the I think at the time I thought, let's attack for 8. But do you know what? Everything's gonna get blown up. They could trade 2 spirits for a Mutavault. Let's attack for 3 instead. Let's preserve every card on the board. And what I ended up deciding to do is, because of Thought-Knot Seer, because of Tide Hollow Sculler, I need to get rid of the cards in my hand. Otherwise, my opponent will get value from their cards. So what I decided to do is activate Mutavault so that I can play Phantasmal Image and copy my own Mutavault and put more of these Mutavault bodies on the board. And then I can play Minamo. I can play Minamo, and I can play this Merfolk Trickster at end of turn. And it can also block one of the fairies. Or the spirits. So they play Inquisition. I play my Merfolk Trickster. And now I realized, you know what? My position is actually really good. We've got a Mutavault in hand. We have 3 Mutavaults on the board. And we can activate all of them. We have a lot of power. If my opponent ever attacks us for any significant amount of damage, we're attacking way back for more. So now they're in a situation. They do have 2 more Lingering Souls in the graveyard, by the way. But now we're in a situation that they might, if they want to trade 2, they need, like, for example, 6 tokens just to trade for the 3 Mutavaults on the board, which means that basically clears their board. And their hand is still very clunky, because if they tap out for Lingering Souls, then they can't play Thought-Knot Seer or Tide Hollow Sculler. So my opponent really mulls over their attacks, because this is starting to get really complicated. They end up just attacking for 1. And so now the thing that I really want to see is something like Spreading Seas or Master of the Pearl Trident. That would be perfect. So they play Lingering Souls. I know their hand perfectly, so I'm not fearful of anything. We draw Master of Waves. I mean, that could not be any more powerful. Our opponent clearly doesn't have any way to interact with Master of Waves, and I'm glad I kept the Mistcaller and the Mistcaller on the board, because it does add to our devotion. So I play the Master of Waves because it's going to make the Mutavault bigger. And I guess I didn't have to play Mutavault. It's not necessary. They didn't have to know about that. So that was a small error on my part. And I wasn't sure if I wanted to attack with Mistcaller, but I ended up deciding to attack with it. Take 1 less token off the board. Sorry, take 1 more token off the board. So they make 2 blocks. Take 2 damage going down to 6. And now I've just have tons of power on the board. Tons. Just tons. I mean, even if they play Lingering Souls and Tide Hollow Sculler, that'd be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 blockers. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 9 quality attackers. And they're basically just chump blocking. So they're now, the onus is on them all of a sudden to find a removal spell, find some way to beat this Master of Waves. Isn't that not amazing? I thought that was amazing. And my hand is not vulnerable to Tide Hollow Sculler or Thought-Knot Seer. So they attack with 4 tokens. Alright, I take 4. I go to 10. And then they played Concealed Courtyard. And then I started thinking, do they have enough blockers? Did they leave up enough? Like, I have 4, or sorry, okay, I have at least 3. I don't have 4 because I need 1 more land, but I have at least 3, 4, 5. I have 9 attackers. You're at 6. If you only put 4 down, then I have more attackers than you have blockers. Yeah, okay, so Tide Hollow Sculler. Or maybe I did that math wrong. I know I have more attackers than they have blockers. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 things that block. And then, sorry, so there's 6 things that they can block. And then there's 3 more creatures that are 2 power that get in for victory. So it's, I can't cast the Silvergill Adept. Well, I don't want to. It cost me 5 mana. So I just activate my Mutavaults, get in the red zone, and then surprisingly steal that game. That is, in my opinion, a very magical game of Magic here. That is just the magic of playing Merfolk. I guess they made a mistake with their block. They would have gotten 1 more turn if they kept up the right blockers, and I would be at 11 life. Would be a slightly different story. I mean, I guess I just don't attack with the Master of Waves. But yeah, that's how we do it. That's how I did it. I guess the Silvergill Adept, actually it'd be very interesting if they left up the appropriate blockers, because maybe now I don't maybe I would play my Silver Gill Adept from my hand because I don't want it to get eaten up by Tide Skull or Thought Here. What would I draw off of Silver Gill Adept? Oh, I don't know, and we never will. So, but who cares? So I win this, and it's very exciting because now I'm 5-1. So I'm guaranteed to get the list published, and it's one more game, or probably one more game. And then we go to the top 8. So if I can win one more, I'm probably locked for top 8 because I don't know, these modern challenges, they don't tell you how many rounds are left. It doesn't tell you at the beginning of the tournament, okay, this is going to be a 7 or 8 round tournament. You just keep playing until you find out that the tournament's not going on anymore. With like there's 100 people in the tournament, so it looked like this was going to be a 7-round tournament. And seeing as this is round 6 and I'm 5-1, hey, we're definitely getting the list published, but we have chances at top 8. So anyway, yeah, I hope you like that. Don't forget to be eligible for the Curse Catcher giveaway. We've got the little fishy here, Curse Catcher serving a fish. Details on that are in the description below. We're going to thank all my patrons supporting me on Patreon. We're also going to thank themanabase.com for being our sponsor. This has been Nikachu by myself playing Merfolk in Modern.